Hi, Pinky Nightwalker here again, and I have something different, something I want to show to everyone. This is my Smith & Wesson Model 63. First of all, I want to show you that there's nothing in the gun. It's empty. All of the chambers, as you'll see the cleaning rod pass through, all of those chambers in the cylinder are completely empty. Okay, so got that out of the way. We're not going to have any accidents here as we film this. There is no ammunition for this gun in the room or anywhere near here, and there is no one in any kind of close proximity that could be injured or anything like that with an empty gun. So hopefully that will never happen. All right, let's move on. This is my Model 63. You know, in the days of all the new polymer guns that are out there today, plastic guns and what have you, they're all fine. I don't have any issues with that, but there's something to be said for something like this. This is my gun when I go out and walk and stuff like that. It's a simple 22 long rifle. Can take 22 long rifles, 22 shorts, not 22 magnums for any of the viewers who aren't that familiar with firearms. But this is a great gun. It's a very simple gun. It holds 8 rounds of ammunition, 1 for every chamber in the cylinder, and this is what's called a cylinder. This is an 8-shot revolver. It has a, show you here, 3-inch barrel. It's measured from right in here to out there, and as you can see, that's about 3 inches, okay? It's a great gun. It's not especially light or heavy. It has enough heft to it that it feels right in the hand. Point's great. Has fully adjustable rear sights that are adjustable for elevation, also for windage, which is left and right. Elevation is up and down, and it has a nice fiber optic front sight. This Smith & Wesson is a newer model. As you can see, it does have the key lock type of device right here, and that's a safety device. Some people have issues with the new Smith & Wessons not being like the old ones. And one of those things, of course, is that it has a key lock. I can't say anything about it. I have them on several other Smith & Wesson revolvers, and I've never had any particular problem with that. They've never engaged or disengaged on their own during firing or walking or anything else. So I really can't say anything bad about them. They're just there, okay? First of all, this gun is primarily aimed at target shooting or casual target shooting, I should say, hiking, things like that. Also, someone who doesn't want a center-fired cartridge, meaning the cartridge that goes in the gun has a separate primer that's in the back of the case of the ammunition, and it's more than likely a reloadable type of cartridge. 22 long rifle is not readily reloadable, and it's just something that you take the leftover brass and save it and maybe turn that into a salvage yard and get a couple dollars for it. This is a great shooting gun. Very accurate. It has a nice grip on it. You can get a pretty good purchase on the firearm itself. It has these nice rubber. I don't know if they're made by Hogue or who makes them for Smith & Wesson, but they are comfortable. I have about a medium-sized hand. I'm 5'10", about 185 pounds, and so I take a large men's glove, but I'm fine. It's not really a small gun. It's not tiny. It's comfortable to shoot. You can give this to a young shooter or a shooter who's small framed, and they're going to do well with it. It's a very accurate gun. I try not to really shoot over 15 yards with something like this. Again, it's a pistol. Maybe I'll step back a little further and take a couple shots at a target and just to see if what I can do. But that's kind of how it works there. This has an interesting barrel on it. The front of it is recessed or crowned, and that's a nice feature because if you can see that, that keeps the barrel from becoming damaged should you bump the front of the gun against some object or drop it and maybe it falls and hits a stone or something like that. You really look for guns like this. This is a great feature. And by the way, this is not an inexpensive firearm. Right now, they're kind of pricey, and for some of the polymer guns, you can probably purchase at least two of them for what this thing goes for currently. And I won't tell you that exactly how much. I'll let you look at it and get the current prices if you're interested. But Smith & Wesson made this. This is this one here is a Model 5. It's the 5th generation. So whenever you look inside of the crane here, you're going to see some numbers, and those will designate the model and which generation in the series that model is, okay? Also, there'll be a serial number here, which I prefer not to really put online. I don't really have a problem with it, but I'm still going to skip that for the time being. It has a smooth trigger. I'm going to keep this screensaver on. By the way, my wife took that picture that you see on the computer screen there at a lake. This was one late fall afternoon. She was walking the dogs at a nearby lake and took this picture, and it's one of those that you just want to keep, and I made a screensaver out of it. It kind of has where the trees were here on the water line, their reflection makes a symmetrical type of image on the screen, and I just thought it was beautiful. Even the contrast of the bush against the water. As you can see, the lake was really smooth. It was just a nice day out there. I wish I had been there with her and the dogs. It would have been a lot of fun and I'm sure relaxing. As you can see the colors of the trees. We live in northeastern Pennsylvania and we get some wonderful foliage here. I don't know where you live, if it's like this or not, but if you get a chance, come up to northeastern Pennsylvania in the fall and look around. You can go online and see when the peak of the foliage season will be. So there's a lot of touristy areas not too far from me. You'll probably hear or know of what's called the Pocono area. And there's a lot of great things to see there in Pennsylvania. So I'd have to say, from traveling here and some other parts of the world, this is home, and I really like it. So, all right, let's go back to the gun. I thank my wife for the picture, and next time I'll make sure I go with her. So, all right, going back to the gun here, I purchased this a couple of years ago, and been very satisfied with it. Smith & Wesson did a great job. You don't see many of these at the range today. People just don't want to part with the money for them. They're kind of expensive. But this is something that I kind of held back buying until I got a little bit older, a lot older, and didn't have the financial commitments or pressure on my finances that I could purchase something like that. Let's take a look at the trigger. Again, it is empty, so we can show you just how the trigger works. And it's okay to dry fire this gun because inside of it, deep in there, you're going to see a little piece of metal that comes up, and that's called a transfer bar. That metal adds or takes away some of the distance that when this hammer falls forward to hit the firing pin, which is right in there, it can connect with it. Otherwise, the hammer is manufactured too short. So if you don't depress the trigger and let that hammer fly forward, this gun will not ignite the cartridge. Okay, that's a safety device that came out a while back. The old guns, it was necessary with a revolver to leave the chamber unloaded and close it in place so that when you carried the gun, if the gun fell or something like that and the hammer struck the ground or just a simple shock of things, it wouldn't fire the gun. So you always had that empty chamber because it had a solid type of firing pin, and you lose a little bit of capacity in the gun by one round. This gun has 8, so you'd be down to 7. That's not the case here. You can safely load all 8 of these chambers and carry the gun. I don't advise carrying it with the hammer cocked, simply because if you are drawing it out of a holster, you may inadvertently put your finger through the trigger guard and squeeze the trigger. On single action, which is the hammer cocked, and I'll show you, this has a very light trigger. This came from the factory. Probably between 2 and 3 pounds is what it would take in pressure to allow this thing to fire. It's a clean, crispy drop, okay? Double action, it's much stiffer, much more deliberate. It's probably over 10 pounds of pull if I had a measuring tool which you could put on here with a scale, attach it, hook it, pull it, and you'd get a reading on it. I don't own one of those. I'm not really into all those things. I'm more into the simple, practical things, and that's good enough for me. So in the double action, if you were pulling this out of a holster, such as this, that does cover the trigger guard. I want to show you something here. This holster here, it's actually made for a different gun, but it fits this very well. It fully covers the trigger guard when this is on my belt, okay? And I carry this on a regular outside of the waistband belt on my blue jeans or something like that. And this has the retention strap on it, the thumb release. You just pop it off like that and pull the pistol out. And as you can see, when you're doing that, your finger is out of the trigger guard because you simply can't get it in there. It's covered. Now, if this was a weapon that I was using for protection, I would take a little different stance with this. I would hold it differently, and as I withdrew the gun from the holster, I'd be putting my trigger finger close to the gun in place, never putting it through the trigger guard until you're on the target. And that is, you'll be shooting at something that you want to kill, okay? Or if it's a paper target, you want to put a hole in it. Or if it's a metal little gong target or paddle, you're going to make it interact and spin around, okay? But don't put your finger ever through the trigger on any firearm, this or a pistol, unless you know what your target is, you're confident that this is what you're trying to shoot or kill, and not before that, because if an accident happens, you're responsible, and you're responsible to conduct yourself in a safe manner here and handle all firearms all the time as though they're loaded and ready to go, never pointing them at a person, an animal, or anything else that is not going to be the purpose target of your action, okay? We don't want to have any accidental shootings or discharges. It's not good. It's something that you'll probably never forget. And let's move on from there now. Again, a little bit pricey, a lot of fun. Great gun to carry out in the wild where I shoot some tin cans and paper targets, but it's a great thing to have. I really enjoy this. So let's put this away right now. This is again the Smith & Wesson Model 63 8-shot 22 revolver with a 3-inch barrel and stainless steel. We'll just lock it in this, put that on the desk here out of the way. You know, I put a couple things out on the desk. I made a video a little bit earlier, and in the video I had displayed this Victorinox pocket knife. Again, this is my Huntsman. Great little knife here. But here's a couple others, and these are Spyderco knives. These are also knives that I use as I see fit, and you can see I actually use my knives. You'll see there's scratches on them and stuff like that, and these knives are not just bought here for YouTube or for anything else. These are knives that I use. I rotate them as I feel that I want to take them out and give them a little run someplace. But they're Spyderco knives, and you might want to take a look at them someday. You know, people think that they look menacing because they have this hole here and this pointy, sharp bill, almost like a bird's bill. And again, this knife is dirty as well. I've used it. I think that's box tape. Okay, what's the hole for? Okay, very simple. This knife here can be put in your pocket, and you can slip it down into your pants pocket, and this clip will hold it in place. And when you go to take it out, you can, I'll put it like this. If this were my pocket, I would draw it out of the pocket, and with one hand, you can open this blade. So if you're doing something, you have something in your other hand, your hands are dirty. These Spyderco knives, this is called a Delica. These are great. There's all different colors and different blade materials. I really like these. I do have a small collection of pocket knives and fixed blade knives, and this is just one of them. Someday we'll do a little bit more with that, and I'll give you some specs on that. Again, going back to the Swiss Army pocket knives here, this is probably my most useful knife, and later on we'll discuss this in some other video, but this is called a Cadet, and these come in a variety of colors. They come and they go, and this is called an ALOX type of Model 1, rather than having the plastic panels or scales, like I said, of the knife world. This comes with aluminum that's dyed with a red anodized finish. Very attractive, very useful. Has just about as many things as you would need in here. Say if you're going out briefly somewhere in the afternoon, not expecting to do a serious hike or things like that, or hunting or whatever, this is a great companion to have in your pocket. Light, tiny, stainless steel, good job. Over there, this is my little friend. I'm a trap shooter, and I got this a couple months back. This is for shooting a perfect score, and that's a 25 out of 25. I started trap shooting really about 2 years ago, and this year, this past year, 2019, was my most prolific year. I did this, wasn't easy. I didn't expect to that night, but it just seemed like everything came together, and the birds flew where I wanted them to, and I got that perfect score. So I'm kind of proud of that. One of the only trophies I ever won in my whole life. It's not very big, but it's mine. I got it, and I'm happy with it. And think about trap shooting, and maybe I'll show you some of the trap guns that I have, and you might kind of like that. Hopefully, it's something that will interest my viewers. And if you want, make a comment, and I'll tell you, I've got a couple nice, I primarily shoot Browning trap guns. I'm not against other brands. I just came into ownership of a couple of them, and that's what I shoot. All right, well, Pinky's taken enough time out of your day. Here in northeastern PA, it's cold out there, snowing. There's not much to do. So I hope you've enjoyed the video that I presented this gun to you. I'm not going to do any really in-depth firearm reviews or something like that. I just want to show you the things that I enjoy, the things that I find that work well for me. I've had good experience with them, and I think if you get a chance and have the opportunity to try one of these, you're going to like it. It's a great little gun. All right, enough for today. Pinky's going to wish everybody a good Saturday afternoon. I hope that you're all safe and warm in your homes today, and wherever you're at, please be safe. And Pinky, over and out. Bye.